So, I tested positive for COVID. Now, for a lot of you, that would be the first time which you've heard me say it or you've found out. Mainly because I haven't told a lot of people. Um, Mainly due to the fact that I didn't want a lot of people knowing, but I think now that I've gone through this experience, I think it's something which I want to tell everyone. First off, I just want to say that this video isn't to try and get views or to try and become internet famous, because that's the last thing I want this video to do. This video is here for the fact that this is what I've been going through. This is me trying to share my personal experience, and I don't know if this video will be up for forever, because I know YouTube are very strict with people saying the word COVID. But this is something which I feel like I need to get out there for my personal experience, so I can look back on this in the future and kind of reflect on how I felt and how this has affected me not only physically but mentally. There is a reason why I didn't tell so many people, and that's because I just felt a bit disappointed in myself. I remember when I got my text message just telling me that I did test positive. I was just gutted more than anything. And I think that's what hit me the most, is that first day. It just going through everything. I think it slowly became a reality. And I think it was due to the fact that I've always said I followed every rule. I was never broke any with the lockdown rules, didn't break any of the rules. So how I got it, the main reason this video is out though is so it can kind of explain to everyone who is watching my personal experience and just how I managed to get through it. Because I think the main thing which affected me the most is how long I was in isolation for. For anyone who didn't know, I was in isolation from the 8th of June, so from the start of this month, and I didn't test positive until the 12th. So I was in isolation before I even tested positive or even considered thinking I had COVID to begin with. So isolation was very, very hard on me personally. Not just physically, but mentally as well. I think that's the main reason I want to get this out, is so that I can express my own personal experience. I can kind of share how I felt, and just so I can look back on this. It could be the day it comes out, even in a few years' time, and just look back and think, wow, I remember this is how I felt. And it's just kind of to get across that this is, everyone goes through it differently. Now, this video is a bit different for me, because I like to be completely jokey, and I don't like sitting down and being serious at all. But like I said, I think this video needs to go just so I can explain how my personal experience went. So let's try and get into it. So to begin with, I was actually doing a few tests beforehand either way. I was doing a few flow tests pretty much every day since being in isolation until it came to the 10th, where we started to see a few symptoms, so we decided to get a test done. And the main thing which they say happens first is you have a fever, you have a cough, and you lose your sense of taste and smell. So this was actually completely different for me. I didn't have a cough, I didn't lose my taste of smell or my taste of smell. So this was completely different for me. I didn't have a cough, I didn't lose my sense of smell or my taste. I did have a bit of a fever, but that was afterwards. That wasn't the first symptom I saw. The first symptom I saw was actually having a headache. Now, it doesn't really concern a lot of people, but every time I've kind of had a headache, I've been very, very self-conscious, like, shit, have I got it? Have I not got it? So we obviously took a few precautions and just decided a test was needed. So I didn't start to have any more symptoms until the day I tested positive, really. And that wasn't even until after I got off the phone with Test and Trace. I found out that I tested positive at 8:05 in the morning, and I didn't get off the phone with Test and Trace until 12:30 in the afternoon. But that's just because they need to know everything. They look back to the past 2 weeks, what you're doing beforehand, the past 2 weeks, and seeing if anyone else could have been in contact with me, just so if anyone else needs to self-isolate, they need to do it like now, before obviously stop the virus, to stop the spread of it. Talking about the whole experience I went through, it's going to be hard. I know that, and I'm going to try to get it out as best as possible. So just bear with me as I try to explain what the fuck this is. As soon as the symptoms did start to roll in, though, it was difficult for me. It's probably the worst I've ever felt, and illness wise, I just felt so horrible. Like, it's probably the illest I've ever been in my life. It just feels like you have a really, really bad cold, and the weirdest symptom I kind of had from it all was my loss of appetite. Now, it only affects 1 in 3 people, apparently, is what Google says, and it's meant to go within the first few days, but even after testing negative, again, it still kind of lingered with me, and I've still kind of gone now. But when it came to me being ill then with actually COVID symptoms, I was only ill for about 2 days. So I tested positive. I felt quite ill on that same day, and then it came to the next day, still quite ill. But then on the 3rd day, I was back to normal quick. It's like everything I kind of had just fucked off. I think what mainly affected me the most when it came to me testing positive, though, was obviously having to socially distance from my family, because obviously I didn't want to give it to them. That was the last thing I wanted to do, because I felt bad enough obviously having to make them self-isolate, and it was difficult, because it seemed as if it was just really difficult, because it's during this time with COVID, it's the one thing I kind of needed help with the most from family, and there's only so much you can do when you're still trying to keep them safe, when you just want to hug them and you know for a fact you can't. So I think that was one of the most struggling things for me. Even saying that, my dog actually gave birth to a few puppies the day before I tested positive, so not being able to see my dog's newborns was really, really hard for me. So I think that's what kind of hit me a lot as well, just not being able to give her support, if that sounds a bit weird to a dog, but if anyone knows me, you know I love my dogs more than anything in this entire world. So obviously there was a big moment for her giving birth for the first time. Mentally though, it really fucking sucked, and it was really tough because I wasn't able to go downstairs properly. Mentally though, it really fucking sucked. Mental health wise, it did affect me quite a bit. Especially, I'll get into this in a bit. Obviously, when our isolation had to extend by a few days. But obviously, when I tested positive, I wasn't able to go downstairs properly, and it was sunny outside, and for me, it was really tough to just not be able to go outside. I was pretty much locked in my room for a good few days, and it was really hard, because obviously I just wanted to make sure my family was safe and that they didn't get the virus, because that was the last thing I really wanted to do, was give it to them, because that would make me feel even more horrible than I already felt. It was still quite tough though, even after being able to come downstairs, because I still had to socially distance from everyone. So my little sisters, my mum, my stepdad, I couldn't go anywhere near them, and it was tough, because all I wanted to do was give them all hugs, really, just because it was something which I think I needed more than anything. It's really odd, because I was lucky enough to have my girlfriend with me, self-isolating with me at the time, but I never felt more alone during it, and I had all these people around me. I had my girlfriend and my family. Obviously, like I said, I didn't want to tell many people to start with. Well, let me try and get my words. I didn't tell many people to start with. I didn't even tell most of my friends. I've only told 2 friends. One of them because they were in contact with me within the 2 weeks, so they had to get in contact with Tess and Trace. And then obviously my other friend, I'm going up to wrestling with him, up to this show soon. And obviously, I'm going to be in a car with him. So I kind of felt like I had to tell him just because obviously I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. But like I said to him, if I didn't know I was fine, I would not put him at risk. I wouldn't even think about going to the show if I knew that I still had these symptoms. If I know for a fact I could still pass it on. So I said just to kind of guarantee with him that he feels safe around me. But I don't think I felt so alone before, even with all these people around me. And I guess I can kind of blame myself, obviously, for not telling a lot of people. But even so, seeing friends go out, knowing for a fact you can't do anything with them, uh, obviously knowing that your family has to stay in, but you can't go down and see them either. Like I said, I had my girlfriend with me, but it just felt as if I was so alone. And although I had these people around me, I just felt like I couldn't talk to them about everything. And for anyone who knows me, I do struggle to get my feelings out there to begin with. So I only tell a handful of people if I'm down in the dumps, and even then, it's very rare that I'll tell them that. It wasn't until a bit later on where we only had 7 days left of our isolation period, and that's when we got a phone call from Tess and Trace again, just kind of, they basically called us up and tell us that our isolation had to extend because the variant we caught was the Delta version, which is the new one, which is more contractable, and so we had to isolate for an extra 4 weeks, meaning up to this point, our isolation was 18 days. I know a lot of you are thinking, obviously, when it comes to being locked inside, or we've been in lockdown for, well, a good while. And then the hardest part of isolation, though, the self-quarantine compared to lockdown, though, is that obviously lockdown, you can go for a run, you can go down to the shop, you can go out still, but with isolation, you can't leave anywhere. You're basically trapped inside your house and you cannot go anywhere, and it's the most I've wanted to leave my house. I love my room to bits, but it comes to a point where even I want to leave it. So when they obviously told us our isolation had to extend, it was really tough. In all honesty, I did break down. It was really tough to have to deal with, knowing that it wasn't gonna get any easier, and it just kept dragging, and just kind of knowing that this hell wasn't stopping anytime soon. It did affect us a lot, but that's where it comes to now. I'm currently filming this on, well, I say my last day. It's 1:30 in the morning on what's the date today? It is the Friday the 25th today, where I can officially leave my house. And honestly, as much as I've been waiting to get out, there's not a lot I can still do. So it will probably still be inside the house, but I think I'm going to at least try to get out a bit, because I think that's what I need more than anything, is to just get out, because this room is affecting me a lot. One thing which really helped me through my isolation was Bo Burnham's Inside. I think that helped extremely well, mainly due to him being in lockdown and being in that room. It kind of, I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it felt as if it was relating to what I was going through mentally, and just what everything he was going through, I felt like I was going through as well. So I know it's completely two different stories, but it did help me a lot just to get through the whole isolation period. So that leads me to now. And today is my first day I can leave, and I don't know what I'm going to do for myself. Hopefully something. But all I can say is that this period sucked a lot, and it's not something I would wish on anyone, because it did really affect me, and it's the last thing I'd want anyone to go through. And knowing that people have died from this it's tough. Like I said originally, the main reason for this video was not to get views, or it wasn't to try and become internet famous. It was just so that I can get my personal experience out. So hopefully I've explained it in the best way possible, otherwise I'll be a bit pissed off watching this back and realise I have to delete it all. It's a weird thing for me to do a serious video, and hopefully I can start making more videos again, because it's something I've missed doing a lot, is making videos. I've got a lot of plans for the future with videos, so hopefully I can get into them. But for the time being, all I can say is thank you very much for watching my video, and I'll see you soon.